turning now to a significant escalation in the Ukraine war. Ukraine launched one of its largest attacks ever on Moscow, striking an oil refinery on the city's outskirts, sending a fuel storage lid soaring into the air. Huge plumes of black smoke billowed over Moscow for hours today. Moscow's mayor saying nearly 200 drones were part of the assault, which also hit an apartment building near the oil refinery, calling it Ukraine's biggest attack on the capital in 2 years. Ukraine's President Zelenskyy defending the strikes in an audio message saying, quote, "If Putin does not want to end this war, we will not sit quietly. We will respond." Russia's foreign minister vowing Russia will now conduct massive group strikes against Ukraine on a regular basis. Joining me now is Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons in Zurich. Keir, thanks so much for being here. So just how significant was this attack by Ukraine?
Well, significant on a number of levels. First of all, the way that you set it out there, Kristen, this is the largest strike on Russia, or series of strikes on Russia by Ukraine since the war began. 200 drones intercepted, just targeting Moscow, according to Russian officials, 1,000 across Russia. Really a barrage, an onslaught from the Ukrainians. And those videos are really bringing it home to people, even if you don't live in Russia, of course. Just those images of all refineries going up in flames, the lid of a silo blowing off as an explosion took place. One drone appearing to be intercepted, but then the debris falling into that oil refinery and causing another explosion. And that residential building, that civilian building, the camera tracks that drone and then it hits the building. So a really serious attack that is serious in size and also because of the implications, both for Russia and Ukraine, Europe and the US.
Well, and the fact that the attack is literally happening on the doorsteps of Moscow. I mean, could this, in fact, put more pressure on Putin to come to the negotiating table, Keir? How do you see it?
Well, that's what President Zelenskyy and the Ukrainian leadership are attempting to do. Interestingly, President Putin wasn't in Moscow when these attacks were carried out. So you could say that the argument towards the Russian leader is, we're not trying to target you, but we could. Certainly, it's putting pressure on the Russian economy, on gas supplies for ordinary people, and that is building up tension within the country, and I think that's what the Ukrainians are attempting to do.
Well, Russia vowing to respond with massive group strikes, effectively striking Ukraine with a number of missiles or drones at one time. Does it have the air power for that kind of attack here?
Well, it does, because one of the aspects of all of this is, of course, that drones have transformed the nature of war. So, just think about it, 1,000 Ukrainian drones in 24 hours targeting Russia. But we've seen, of course, the Russians targeting Ukraine with large numbers of drones, particularly Iranian style, or certainly even Iranian drones, just noting that relationship between Russia and Iran. So Russia can, yes. And I think, Justin, another thing to think about here, and it's sobering to consider, is that it isn't that long ago that the US was restraining Ukraine from targeting Russia in any substantial sense inside Russian territory. That seems to have passed now. Now the Ukrainians are effectively, from their perspective, doing all they can to try to shift the sense in Russia that they are immune from this war.
And just finally, Keir, we know that President Zelenskyy at the G7 summit this week telling leaders that Ukraine's strikes inside Russia were actually evidence that Ukraine was turning the tide of the war. Did the other leaders believe that to be the case? How are they viewing this situation?
Well, they're all watching the front line in Ukraine, which changes in the sense of that sometimes it appears as if the Russians are making progress or the Ukrainians are making progress. But frankly, Christine, in the end, it is incremental. We did hear from one of President Putin's advisors, Ushakov, looking at the G7, saying that effectively European leaders are pouring negativity into President Trump's ear, that they're persuading him in ways, in negative ways, he said. So the Russians haven't looked on that G7 meeting in any sense in a positive way. But certainly, I think that they will be the Europeans. Look, the Europeans are leaning into Ukraine's offensive against Russia, but they will be quite realistic about the potential that either side is going to make substantial progress on the battlefield.
All right, Keir Simmons covering all of the angles for us. Keir, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.